So now let's look at actually solving the problems here. So I've transferred our little roadmap down to the bottom, and we have our metric chart here. So what we're going to do is we're going to approach this with some simple just base units to prefix or prefix to base unit. Just to get used to using it and seeing some problems, and then we'll look at some base units to base unit conversions. Okay, so in our first problem here, our given is 46 grams. So just like we did with the standard units and the units we converted before with those standard units, we're going to write down our first or our given information. So 46 grams. Okay, so where are we starting? Well, we need to notice and we need to recognize that this is a base unit. This is the grams. It's very easy to recognize the base unit because notice it's an only one symbol representation. So it only has one letter. We know it's a base unit. So we're starting here. Okay, we're starting at the base unit. Now it wants us to go into Hg, so hectogram. So I look on my chart and I notice here is the hectogram right there. There's the H, so I know that that's right. And we know that it's a larger unit. So we're going to end up here. Okay, so I want to get from the base unit to the large unit. So I've got one arrow, one path right there. So I'm only going to need one equality. So if I look here, my equality is, I'm going to write that down here. Our equality is 1 hectogram is equal to 10 to the 2 grams. All right. And if you remember back at the beginning of this lesson, we can write this equality in two different ways. We can either write it as 1 hectogram over 10 to the 2 gram, or we can write the fraction 10 to the 2 grams over 1 hectogram. So we can use either one because they're inverses of each other and they're just representing an equality. So with that, we're going to use the one that allows us to cancel the units. So when I put it back up here, and we only need one of the equalities because here in the roadmap, we're only going in one direction. So here we're going to use just one of them. So I've got the gram, right? I've got the gram on top. So I'm starting in the gram. So remember, you always want to cancel out the units. So the unit in the previous step will end up being the denominator in the current step. So when I set up my fraction bar, I'm going to want to use the equation or the fraction that has gram on the bottom. So I'm going to use that guy right there. So for every 1 hectogram equals 10 to the 2 grams. All right, so once that happens, it cancels out the grams, and the lone remaining unit is the hectogram, which is what my problem wanted the answer in. So we know we've set up the problem correctly. So now we can go ahead and we can do the math, the simplification of these fractions to solve the problem. Well, when I do that, so I'm going to go straight across. So that is, to simplify the math problem, 46 times 1 divided by 10 to the 2. Okay, so then we can just place that in our calculator. So basically we are going to divide by 10 to the 2. So 46 divided by 10 to the second. And we're going to get 0.46. So we basically move the decimal 2 places. Okay, so my answer is going to be 0.46 hectograms. Now, remember, just like in all the other problems, we want the number of significant digits to match the number of significant digits in the question. So here I have two significant digits, the 4 and the 6. My answer is still a 4 and a 6. They're two significant digits, so I don't need to convert it into scientific notation. I can leave it because it matches. All right, let's try the other one here. Let's get rid of the problem. Okay, my little box got a little messed up. We'll fix that. All right, so next problem. We have 186 NS. So obviously we know 2 letters, it's got to be a prefix. And our N, we can look on the chart here, and it is in nanoseconds. All right, so we are going from a small unit, starting here, and we're going to end up, let's see, we're going to end up in the base unit. Okay, so we're going to go in this direction, and we only need 1 arrow because it puts me in the base unit of seconds. So 1 unit, 1 equality. So my equality here, for every 1 nanosecond, there are 10 to the negative 9 seconds. Okay, so there we are. All right, so what does that mean? That means that we can write this as 1 nanosecond over 10 to the 9 seconds, or we could do the inverse, 10 to the 9 seconds over 1 nanosecond. So we can use either one of those depending on our given information. So our given information is 186 nanoseconds. So that means that when we set up our fraction, we want nanoseconds in the denominator. So this is the form that we're going to want to use. So 10 to the negative 9 seconds over 1 nanosecond. So when I set this up, we see that nanoseconds will cancel and we will be left in seconds. Now, the nice thing about this is the answer says that's what we want the unit in. So we know we've set up our problem correctly. All right, so we can simplify this. We can simplify the math. So we're going to have 186 times 10 to the negative 9, all divided by 1. And we can place this in our calculator. (186 times 10 to the negative 9. And we are going to get and if you have your calculator already in scientific mode, it's going to convert it for you into scientific mode. So my calculator is, and I get this answer. And because it's in scientific mode, it is already matching my significant digits because we have 3 numbers in the answer and 3 numbers in the given. So this would be our answer, 1.86 times 10 to the negative 7 seconds. And that should make sense because this number, this unit, is larger than the prefix, which is why it's in the lower second half of the table.